friends, and welcome to another episode of Saturday Night Cinema. As always, I am your host, Sawyer Saintson, and tonight we're talking about one of my all-time favorite movies, franchises, all around, amazing. That's all that I can really say at this moment. It's amazing. I love everything about it. Um, so let's just start off, I guess, here with a little bit of a tagline. This movie actually has several different taglines, but my favorite one is they got up on the wrong side of the grave. We're talking about the Evil Dead here, people. Legendary movie. If you haven't heard of it, you've been living under a grave. Haha. Sorry. Anyways, so its release date was October 1981. Um, Director, writer, special effects, makeup. I mean, he pretty much did a whole lot of it because they were running on a very low budget. So our jack of all trades is Mr. Sam Raimi, which this was his very first full-length feature film. He had just been doing some short films prior to this. The guy that was helping with a lot of the makeup and special effects, kind of like his head go-to guy there on this was Tom Sullivan. And I don't know much about Tom Sullivan, unfortunately. The people that worked with him on two I know very well. One of them is one of my favorites. I mentioned him, I believe, in the last episode, Mr. Greg Nicotero. A lot of you probably know him from The Walking Dead, which he's done way more than just that. But anyways, so he was number two, which also number two, is where the comedy sets in. The first one, 1981, there was very little to no comedy aspects of it. The our leading man, who we're going to talk about here in just a minute, really didn't get to do his full on what everyone recognizes him for until number two. So he was more of a dapper leading man at in this one. And so yeah, moving on to the cast. Mr. Bruce Campbell as our leading / only surviving man. Ashley J. Williams, also better known as Ash. Bruce Campbell is legendary for this part and for many other things that he's done. I think that he is a very talented and handsome man. I'll just put that out there. Next we have, Ellen Sandwise, and she plays Cheryl Williams, which is Ash's sister. She is the first in the movie to come into contact with the evil spirits that are in and around that area. She has a very disturbing scene, which inspired a burlesque act that I did for my Halloween, month of Halloween inspired burlesque acts. If you weren't around in October, you missed it. Actually, I still think you can find it on OnlyFans. But anyways. Next we have Richard Demanicore, I believe is how you pronounce that. He plays Scott, which is one of Ash's friends that goes to the cabin with him. Then we have Betsy Baker. She plays Linda, Ash's girlfriend. And then rounding out the cast, we have Theresa Tilly. Theresa, it's one of those, Miss Tilly. And she plays Shelley, who is Scott's girlfriend. Just before we get into the synopsis, I do want to mention that they did win a few awards. So the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror has what they call a Saturn Award. And this film won that in 1983 for, no, 83 or 81. I don't remember. Guys, I'm so bad with dates sometimes. It's bad. Anyways, they won for best low budget film. And I mean, yeah, like from what I've heard, this was like the lowest of the low budget that you could get. Anyways, and then there was a international film festival. I can't pronounce this name, but they won 2 awards at this international film festival. One was for best special effects, and that went to Tom Sullivan. And then the prize of International Critics Jury. That's a really long name for an award. But that went to Sam Raimi for his directing. So even though it was super low budget and like at the time, like, you know, really probably didn't do like a whole lot in the box office, it did win awards, and of course it has become a cult like classic. It's got a big following. Originally, it wasn't going to be called The Evil Dead. They wanted to name it The Book of the Dead, but the production studio was like, hey, we don't think that people are going to come see it if they have a feeling that it's going to have anything to do with a literary work. Which, I mean, come on. I mean, if you titled a horror movie like Book of the Dead, I'd probably be like, okay, what's this book about? So I really feel that people that are like going to the movies to see a horror movie would actually kind of, you know, be interested in that. So anyways, so our location, right, is in a mountain town in Tennessee. This cabin, you can't go there now. It is owned by somebody. It's private property. There are signs that say that they will shoot you on sight. Believe me, I looked into it because I've been wanting to go for quite some time. But anyways, so stupid. See, now that gets me on another soapbox, maybe for another time, about people who own like famous landmarks or movie like shots and locations, and them keeping all the glory to themselves. That's for another day. Anyways, let's get talking about the movie, shall we? Most people, I mean, a lot of people know the plot. 5 friends go out to the woods to stay in a cabin for the weekend, right? So, you know, on the way, they're kind of like joking about, you know, how cheap they got it, and that's probably going to be like a, you know, a crapshoot because of how cheap it is. Then they get there. Everything seems fine. It's, you know, cute little a cabin out in the middle of absolutely nowhere. What could go wrong? Just a nice weekend for friends. Well, you know, then they find this like recording, yes, sorts, you know, and they start playing it, and it turns out, you know, this like archaeologist who owned the cabin, who came out there to, concentrate on his work, found something very interesting. The Book of the Dead, the Necronomicon. Book bound with flesh and written in blood, and yeah, I mean, what more do you need to know about the evilness of this book? I mean, and literally, it looks like it has a face on it has a face on the front of it. I say just leave well enough alone. Maybe not, start reading from it. But, of course, the archaeologist records himself reading from it. And even the, just the sound of the recording, starts to awaken what is out there, waiting. And as it does, as things start awakening, you see Cheryl sitting by the window, drawing a grandfather clock that's there in the room. And then all of a sudden, she starts just going crazy, just scratching this weird thing into the paper. And it really doesn't look like much. I mean, it's kind of crude, I mean, it resembles kind of the book in a way, but not much. I don't know. It's very kind of hard to decipher exactly what it's supposed to be. But, she kind of, they turn off the recording, things start going back to a little bit of normal. But Cheryl is, hearing, these voices coming from outside telling her to join them. Now, see, this is where Cheryl messed up, because, they all kind of, split up and go into their own, doing their own little thing. Cheryl's in the bedroom, kind of getting ready for bed. Ash and Linda are out in, I guess the living room area is what you would technically call it. He gives her a beautiful necklace that's a magnifying glass. I don't know the significance of a magnifying glass, but it's cool. It's nice. Sweet gift, So, but Cheryl is still hearing the voices, right? And so she goes out into the woods in her nightgown and slippers and robe. And this is, out of all of the things, that happen within the Evil Dead and the special effects and, things that happen, this scene really is it just takes the cake, So she goes out and, the trees get her. The trees attack her and pin her down and do things with her that shouldn't be done to a person. That's all I'm going to say about that. And, if you've seen the movie, you know the scene. We don't really have to talk about it that much. So she, is able to get free from the trees, and she runs back into the house, and she's trying to tell all of them that the trees did this to her. But of course, no one really believes it. They think she's crazy. But hey, would you believe someone that came running in saying the trees attacked him? It's a hard pill to swallow. So, they're hanging out. Cheryl's sitting by the window, just chilling, hanging out, looking out there, I guess trying to see her friends. And then, you know, she turns around and she is fully possessed. Just fully possessed. And she's trying to attack people with her pencil. And, I mean, she does end up getting Shelly, like, in the foot. And, you know, that scene is horrible, too, because, I mean, so I've had a pencil, like, jabbed into my leg, and it, like, just, like, sticking out of there, kind of weird. Like, I mean, it went through my blue jeans and into my leg. It was quite... But, like, that scene made me just cringe hard. So, Cheryl's our first one to get kind of attacked by, like, you know, something that we can physically, like, see is possessed. And so, I mean, things happen. They put Cheryl in the basement, which the cabin itself didn't have an actual, like, cellar door basement area. So, like, you know, the production team did some little, like, trickery on that, which, you know, I thought was pretty fun. And then, I mean, look, Cheryl succumbs to her wounds and is, you know, now possessed. Linda gets possessed. Scott gets attacked and he dies of his wounds and then comes back to life possessed. Ash is the only one that comes out of this without having any kind of possession happen to him in this one. So, I mean, you know, and while possessed, Linda and Cheryl at some point revert back to, like, the, like, situation of not being possessed, right? They, you know, revert back to their normal selves to try to trick Ash into, you know, getting closer and, you know, being with them. And I mean, it, you know, it almost works. I mean, you know, you don't want to believe that your girlfriend and your sister turned into these horrible, like, undead, like, weirdos trying to kill you. So, you know, Ash is fighting off these things, killing them. He gets Linda out to the shed where, like, her, I mean, he decapitates her and her head's, like, in a vice grip and, like, her, you know, her body's just running around. It is the most ridiculous thing. But, you know, possession is, I mean, it's up for interpretation. We don't know. Who knows? Who knows what your body would do after possession, right? But, you know, like, at some point they, you know, I mean, they tried to get away, but, you know, the bridge was all messed up. And fun fact about the bridge in this, so that was already scheduled for demolition by the city in which they were filming. And so the city just was like, yeah, do whatever you want to with it. Whatever. We're going to destroy it anyways. That's pretty cool. I like when, like, movies do that. There's another movie, another franchise that we've talked about that did that with a house in one of their movies. It was gonna be demolished anyways. So what they did is they just picked it up from its location in which it was and moved it and then Blew it up. That was Phantasm, by the way. You know, another movie franchise that like to work low budget. So, anyways, I mean, there's not like much more to say about this. Ash is the only one that makes it out of there alive. And he's a little changed by it. You know? Like I said, this one is much more of like a straightforward, like, horror movie. It doesn't have a whole lot of comedy. Like the second one does. The second one has some of my favorite scenes ever. I mean, come on. Like a laughing deer head, like on the mantle. Come on. Fighting your own possessed hand and chopping it off. Yes. I mean, come on. And I mean, to see Bruce kind of, you know, possessed a little bit by the Deadites is great. So, you know, we have Evil Dead. We have Evil Dead 2, which, again, they really didn't want to call it Evil Dead 2, but, you know, pressure from the studio executives get what they want a lot of time because they're fronting that money. Then we have Army of Darkness, which is fantastic. You know, then we have that remake that, I mean, it was okay for what it was, but it didn't really, listen, I mean, it was okay, but it didn't really, like, grab me a whole lot. I mean, certainly had a lot of gore in it. Seems like a lot more than, you know, what the original, you know, did. And then you have, you know, the TV series, right? Ash versus the Evil Dead. Yeah. It's great. Fantastic. Love it. And then I heard through the grapevine, don't know if y'all have seen this or not, but Sam and Bruce are getting together, working on something else that's, you know, Evil Dead related. Y'all, I'm so excited. So excited. Because, like I said, this is one of my favorite franchises. I absolutely love, like, Bruce Campbell and everything he does. Sam is a genius. I mean, he's done so many, like, movies in general that are fantastic. Like, not just horror movies, like, but, you know, action movies. I mean, you know, he did do Spider-Man. And it was fantastic. And if you remember, Bruce Campbell had a cameo in one of the Spider-Mans. Just saying. Just saying. It was great. So, that's about all that I have to talk about the movie. I know I kind of ran through that really fast, really quick, but, I mean, there's not a whole lot of plot here. I mean, 5 friends in a cabin in the woods getting possessed. That's the summary. But we are going to be doing a new thing, because you guys know how I'm always saying, like, I have no idea what I'm doing next week. And that is for sure. A lot of times I literally on Sunday night go, oh, okay, this. And usually it's because I see it on Tubi and I'm like, ooh, I want to talk about that before even watching it. It's just reading, like, the, you know, synopsis and I'm like, yes, this one. So I am going to actually be drawing from a hat. I know I took time to write down some movies that I thought maybe people would want to hear about. I don't know. Maybe I just want to watch them again. Maybe I'm being selfish. But let me just dip down and get my bowl. Isn't it cute? Cute, huh? Little skull there. I don't have very many. See? Not very many. But there's a few, and there's some good ones in here, and some that are, I mean, some people like them. I wouldn't necessarily call them a good movie, you know, but hey, they all can't be winners, right? So let's just, well, some of them are popping open. Okay. Just go around and around and around. And let's see. Let's go with this one. I know that seemed like it took me a long time to pick that, but here we are. Do you want to see what it says? What does it say? Oh, you guys, it's popcorn. Oh. Oh, see, this is one of the ones that I was like, maybe it's not such a great movie, but popcorn. If you don't know about popcorn, I mean, it takes place in a theater, so, you know, I might, you know, do a little bit of, you know, comparison between that and Demons, figure out which one we like the best. I can kind of already tell you which one I like the best. But yeah, okay. Next week we'll do popcorn. I'm excited. Are you excited? All right. Thank you for joining me, sinners, and have a wonderful evening. Bye.